Berlin's entire urban landscape mirrors the consequences of numerous eruptions and catastrophes of the capital's turbulent political history. These physical and psychological bruises and scars made the German reunification a challenging task. More than any other place in post-war Berlin, the site I have chosen as a subject of this video is inextricably tied to seemingly endless and often irreconcilable debates and arguments about how the historical center of the city should be transformed. Therefore, its roughly 2 hectares became an essential part of my 30 years occupation with various aspects of the formation of a new political space within the urban structures of the capital of the reunited Germany. The discourse about the appropriate architectural representation of this new Berlin Republic began soon after the parliament decided in 1991 that Berlin will become the new capital. Soon, this debate reminded more of an ideology-driven culture clash than a civic debate of a society in search of consensus and compromise. The 1990 asbestos-related closure of the Palace of the Republic, which was a seat of the East German parliament and replaced the destroyed historical Berlin Palace on the site, seemed to awaken completely new desires about the future of the city. The longer the building remained shut, the more questions of national representation were linked with an essentialist identity discourse. In all seriousness, it was claimed that an identity-building effect should emanate from the center of the city, and it should aim to give Berlin back its lost identity. Even though a city with more cultural, historical, and political inscription is hardly conceivable. The closing of urban gaps and spaces was narrated as a quasi-natural, predestined part of the conditio humana. But this restorative thinking, paired with historical fictions, was exclusively promoted by the aesthetic assertions of a small group of people, who would as well complain that ties are no longer worn. The desire of the political elites to create a great national monument here became increasingly obvious. Consequently, a historizing image of the city became the focus of all further planning. The aim was a supposed historical continuity, which has never existed in this way. This new orthodoxy resulted in the replacement of the Palace of the Republic with a partial reconstruction of the historical Berlin Palace. The new palace project had broad support among all politicians, but 2/3 of the population rejected it. In retrospect, one could say this indicates that Berlin became the new capital at the moment when it was least capable to take on and accomplish this responsibility, politically, ideologically, and creatively. After 7 years, the palace replica is nearing completion. It will mainly house a new museum named Humboldt Forum, the new home of Berlin's various non-European collections. Its exhibition concept catapulted the Humboldt Forum in the international focus of the long-overdue debate on the consequences of colonialism and restitutions. The heads of the Humboldt Forum actually believed that they could simply keep quiet about the proveniences and history of their collections as before, like a family secret. To simply claim that the world cultural heritage in European museums is a shared heritage is not only dishonest, but a historically amnesic self-glorification that completely ignores colonial injustice. There is no doubt that the state museums of Berlin are not the legitimate owners of many of their holdings, and the official recognition of the illegitimacy of their property is only the first of many steps that must be taken. But almost as if not enough porcelain has been smashed already during the past 30 years, Berlin succeeded to pour more oil into the fire. On May 29, the 4.7-meter tall gilded Christian cross was lifted onto the cupola of the reconstructed Prussian palace. Less visible but even more controversial, the cross was accompanied by assembled words from 2 Bible passages. In golden letters on a circumferential blue banderole affixed around the tambour of the dome, one can read the words, "Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is no other name under heaven given to men than the name of Jesus, to the glory of God the Father, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth." The main entrance of a museum with the self-imposed goal to become a place of exchange, polyphony, and global diversity is now located under the written proclaimed message to bow your knee in the name of Jesus to find salvation. Seriously? a very different kind of kneeling than the one initiated by Colin Kaepernick. The Humboldt Forum justifies this as a consistent completion of the partial historical reconstruction of the Berlin Palace. But King Frederick William IV's intention to accentuate the palace with a dome was to house the palace chapel, and thus place the entire palace in a sacred context. He wanted to unambiguously devaluate the constitutional principle against his own imbued divine grace, which he saw as a holy foundation of the state. As an expression of the king's rejections to all demands for the democratization of his reign and to grant a constitution. The attempt to now attribute solely Christian values like charity, tolerance, and freedom to this particular cross is deliberately misleading. Its specific historical context makes this cross an insignia of intolerance and submission. It is therefore not a matter of preserving historical symbols of meaning, but rather a matter of a new cultural signal that the German society is sending to the world. Furthermore, this cross is a reminder of the unholy alliance between colonialism and mission, to which parts of the ethnological collections owe their existence. How can this not be perceived as another example of European religious and cultural supremacy and arrogance, to which millions of people in many cultures have fallen victim? It is a stark contrast in light of the actions that are finally taken by other institutions around the world regarding the legacies they have been narcissistically celebrating for much too long. Because German politics has not prevented this decision, nowadays Germany feels completely out of touch with this new reality and is falling way behind its own aspirations. The only hope left is a common experience of packet soup buyers, who know very well that the actual ingredients often have little to do with the packaging. Even though long time gone, the former Palace of the Republic, its prehistory and its aftermath still lay like a cuckoo's egg in the bird's nest of German's history to this day. At this moment, the young hatchling looks alarmingly similar to an extinct species we thought we had gotten rid of forever.